and God blessed me with the ability to do the job. Somebody has to stand up, so I feel the responsibility to act right now.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. I am Van. I am here with Miss Mika and the attorney, Sholdon Daniels. How you doing today, sir?
How are you? That was amazing. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That was amazing.
Let's go. Let's go. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Before we move forward, I do want to say, everyone, we are here with the Mr. Sholdon Daniels, and we're really trying to put his name and his likeness out there. He's doing some remarkable work, and I would love if you guys hit that very first link inside of the descriptions and donate to his cause, so that we can make sure that that his work comes to fruition, and he can take Jasmine Crockett out of her seat. That's what I'm talking about. You can introduce yourself. Just let the people know who you are. The people that don't know you, let them know what you stand for and what you're trying to do. That would be amazing.
I am Sholdon Daniels. I am a father. I am a former Army veteran. I am an attorney of 11 years, and I'm a small business owner. I run my own firm. And I, was born to a single mom at 19 years old. We didn't have a silver spoon. We didn't have a safety net. She just taught me grit, determination, hard work. I used that to put myself through college at the University of Texas at Dallas and law school at the University Texas Southern and Thurgood Marshall School of Law. And ever since I've become a dad, I've been way more future focused and thinking about the world in terms of how I want to leave it. I've always been service oriented. I come from a family of men that are really involved in the church, pastors and deacons, and so on and so forth. The women in my life, including my mother, my aunts, grandmothers, they're teachers, they're nurses, they're caretakers. And so I was just kind of raised that way to think about others and be community service oriented. And so, seeing the way the world was trying to go under the Biden administration, and then, watching Jasmine get elected or my opponent get elected, and just watching how she votes to begin with, her voting record was just, it was so counter to everything that I know I stand for and my neighbors stand for. I find out that she's not from Texas. I find out that she's not who she says she was. And so I took it upon myself to challenge her for the seat.
So we know that within the Republican Party and the whole MAGA movement, right? Culturally, young men are attracted to this movement, right? And being that you're in the younger generation, how do you plan on mobilizing the younger generation, like the millennials, Gen Z, and how do you plan on speaking to their core issues?
You know, First of all, I want to send a big shout out to the MAGA movement. They have done a lot in America to bring this country together, no matter what your skin color is, no matter what your background is. But I'm leading the charge on this America First movement. you know, um, how I plan on reaching out to the younger generation is, I've already formed coalitions with young students that are influencers on their campuses, whether it be high school campuses or college campuses here locally. I'm working on this headquarters. We're going to build a really amazing space for them to be able to come up here, get work done, get trained on how to canvas and grassroots organizing techniques. We throw fun events. Our fundraisers are fun. We got the best food down here in our district. And so everybody already wants to be a part of the momentum and the buzz and the vibe that we've kind of kicked off with this campaign here in this part of Dallas. And so it's already attractive to the young people. They seem to think I'm a lot younger than I am. Luckily, God kind of blessed me, I guess, to look a little younger than I actually am. And so it's fun, and it's real. It's a real grassroots movement, and that's going to attract the young people.
Yes, yes, yes.
That
So
has
how
an
old are
extra
you,
voice in
Mr.
Georgia.
How old are you, Mr. Daniels?
I'll be 39 in a week.
All right.
Oh, you're
Or
young. You're
Yeah.
absolutely young. So you have this in a bag. So you can actually talk and mobilize that generation because you understand like what it's, everything that's going on as far as jobs, as far as matter of fact, let me ask you that. As far as the whole workforce goes. So we're talking about tariffs. We're talking about the stock market. We're talking about all of that right now going on with America in general. Down in TX30, how does that affect your constituents, and how does that affect how you're going to mobilize your constituents?
You know, you speak in terms of tariffs. I think everybody across the whole country is really going to kind of, for the most part, feel in the same way. You know, the leading industries here in my district are like the hospitality type industry. We got a little bit of telecom. It's more travel based. And so we have a lot of small businesses too, but most of our small businesses are more hospitality based. We have airport here, Love Field. And so you know, we're not really doing a lot of international trade with China in particular to the point to where these tariffs are just putting our district in a recession. You may have a few people here and there who are feeling it pretty hard, but I think, like I said, that's not unique to TX30. But as far as the jobs outlook is concerned, you know, I think the real issue with the chilling effect on the job creations here in TX30 has mostly been the effects of like the Biden policies, overspending in the government, sending money overseas, and not really leaving anything over here for the people here. Also, you got to remember they're the ones who increased all the regulations on small businesses. Everything from that, what was it? You had to report to them to let them know who owned more than 25% of the business, or you were going to have to pay a fine. And I mean, they do things like that, and that's going to put a chilling effect on people who want to start businesses, people who are looking to expand their business, or to hire somebody and give them a job. And so then you got to look at all the other policies too that, you know, restrict it and make it hard for small business owners to hire people, whether it be minimum wage or minimum age laws. You know, all these things need to be looked at. And so I don't think it's really something you can blame on tariffs. If there's been any negative effects on the jobs here in TX30, that's been going on way before these tariffs ever kicked into effect.
All
So
right.
you talk about the Biden administration a lot. So the Biden administration, of course, we know has all of the issues with letting over the illegals, and you know, with your opponent Jasmine Crockett. I called it something else, but with your opponent Jasmine Crockett, she talks about how they contribute to the economy. You just talked about hospitality, right? Is one of the main, you know, workforces down there. So with Trump doing what he's doing with the deportations, how is that affecting the hospitality job market? And then do you think American workers can go in and fill those positions, or do they even want to fill those positions? Because your counterpart, uh, she's saying that essentially nobody wants to work those jobs.
You know, and that's just a flat out lie. First of all, you know, the people who are in my district are not here illegally by and large. You know, a lot of the people here in my district are Tejano families. They've been here since before Texas was even incorporated into the United States as a state. Okay. And so to assume that people in my district are here illegally or that we have some outsized number of illegal immigrants, it's just not true. It's not based in fact. Now, we do have a large number of Spanish speakers in our community, especially a lot of those being from Mexico, and then a lot of those being from Central and South America. But in terms of how it's affecting our hospitality industry, I'm not seeing any difference. And I go out there are 12 cities in my district, and I go out to about 3 or 4 of them a day. I put a lot of miles on my vehicle every day, and all my favorite restaurants, the food is still good. It's still coming out on time. They're still packed. I'm not seeing up a bunch of now hiring signs, and if I am, you know, it's not due to any type of immigration sweep or anything like that. And so the people in my district are genuinely hardworking people. We are not some monolith of welfare recipients. We would rather have opportunity. We would rather have lower taxes and a safer community as opposed to whatever handouts Jasmine Crockett is always offering.
Now you mentioned her before. You was talking about her upbringing. You said that she's from privilege. What exactly did you mean by that? Because some people say she went to school that cost $30,000 for her to go, and now she's pretty much in cosplay, acting or playing a role in order to appease her constituents. What do you have to say about that?
First of all, there's nothing wrong with coming from privilege, right? I think all of us strive. That's part of the American dream. We all strive to get to a point to where, you know, we can provide certain things for our kids and for our families. However, Jasmine not being from Texas, coming to Texas and then treating TX30 like a stepping stone to get up in Congress and then start to show her behind. And then, to dig salt into the wound and start, I guess, performing as if she's some caricature of what she thinks it means to be black and from South Dallas.
Yeah.
It's a slap in our faces, a slap in my face, it's a slap in a lot of people's faces. And to be honest with you, that right there, in and of itself, is one of the biggest catalysts for people who were once huge supporters of her to be open to giving me a shot, even if it's only in 2026. They're going to vote for me. They may not switch full Republican, but a lot of people who once supported Jasmine Crockett, just based on that alone and that revelation alone, has made them flip sides and want to vote for me in 2026.
Okay.
So you talked about starting businesses and small businesses. There was a business deal with 50 Cent in Louisiana, and we saw how that just exploded with the Democrats putting all their misinformation out there, and now there's no jobs there. 50 Cent can't put the studio there to give that community a leg up. In TX30, are there other forces that work against actually putting jobs into the community, bringing more money in, in state, out of state? Like, how does that work in TX30? And then what do you plan on doing to build up that district?
Texas, in and of itself, TX30 is part of a bigger puzzle that is Texas. Texas is a magnet for business. It's people used to think Delaware was a spot you wanted to, base your corporation, and now people are realizing that Texas is even better. Okay, and we are the leader in a lot of different places. Okay, you got Teslas down here, you got a ton of. So in my district alone, the stock market, the Texas stock market, is about to be headquartered right there in downtown Dallas, right there in TX30. Like I said, we got Love Field, we got DFW, which is one of the world's most cutting edge international airports hubs in America, and so. We got a lot of opportunity here. What one thing people need to understand about TX30 is it's extremely diverse, and the main thing that people need to know is that people here they have businesses, they have jobs, they make an honest living, and what they need is better paying jobs. We need lower housing. We need safer communities. All the stuff that came about from Biden, that's all the negative things that are happening in our community are essentially symptoms of democratic policies. And I think people are realizing that now. And I really don't even have to do too much convincing. We just have to show up and let them know that they have another option, what it is that we stand for, and they're flipping to our side. It really is as simple as that. So the mission isn't really, how can I craft or how can I answer these questions? It's more of how many people can we talk to? How many people can we get in front of? Let them know that we're available and that we're here to fight for them.
All right. So my question to you is, because I really don't trust politicians. I say that they all lie. They're all playing the game in order to get the job so that they can eventually be president.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I don't know what your ambitions are, but that's just how I usually say it.
I can tell you it's not to be president. It's not to be president. My ambitions weren't even to run for this office. I mean, I understand politics. I know how to run for office, and I've always been the type of person that, like, I wanted to encourage other people to do it. Like, I spent a lot of my time trying to put my efforts and my passions behind other people and their dreams. That's why I'm a business attorney, because I have a lot of experience helping people start businesses and then navigate, when things go wrong and when things go right. And so, as far as my ambitions, I never saw myself as stepping up and running for office. I knew that I would probably be involved in someone's campaign or maybe working alongside an elected official, because I already do that as an attorney with these judges and these district attorneys. But I don't know. You hit the age 38 and you look up there and you start seeing them people on Capitol Hill just passing out, freezing up and not being able to even answer questions. And it's just like, wow, like, these people are vegetables on Capitol Hill. And, there's nobody there really speaking for our generation. So I'm just the type of person to where before, oh my gosh, hold on.
No, you good.
No, this is good TV right here. This is good TV. We don't hear you, brother.
Let me see.
Okay, there we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so before I ask other people to do something, I'm the type of person that's going to, I'm so sorry,
You're good, brother.
step up and do it myself. And so that's where that came from.
Okay. You know what I see, here's one thing I like about you, brother, is that he's a real dude.
I love it.
You're a real brother, man. I appreciate that. All right, so now you said that these senators and these congressmen, they get stuck, like and I saw a congresswoman, and I know I don't really want to talk about her too much because every single interview we talked about, I mean, I seen you talked about Jasmine a lot. And plus I usually take up for Jasmine Crockett for the wrong reasons on this channel, and Mika give me hell, and so do the people inside the chat. That's okay, but I think she's trash. I mean, well, anyway. All right, so I seen that she was asked about legislation that she was pushing forward, and she said she don't have anything, nothing that she's working on.
Wasn't that foolish of her to say that?
That
Like
was
out
ridiculous.
loud? That was
That was
wild.
ridiculous. And she brushed it off as, well, I'm bad at being a politician, or I'm bad at this. What did you
She
take that
did.
as? Her just playing? What how do you take her as a whole person? Like when you look at her, do you take her seriously?
I don't take her seriously, but you know, the reason she had to field that question was she fielded that question from some journalists right here in Dallas, by the way. Um, because I've been putting her on the spot about that. You know what I mean? She can't pass any laws. She doesn't even have any really good ideas. You can tell that the bills that she does, quote unquote, sponsor, you can tell that's coming from a lobbyist. You know what I mean? Like it's just not even her style. It's so obscure, and it's like such an outlier in terms of like where what she says and her rhetoric. It just doesn't make sense. And so um, when she had to answer that question, I was just glad that she was straight up and honest because I felt so vindicated. So many times when I try to speak to her hardest supporters, usually like the older black female generation that like the women I
Mhm.
go to church with and stuff, right? They love her. You know, they get on to me, you know, but I
Oh
tell them, you
yeah.
know, what has she done and what can she do? You know, because the job is not going on TV. The job is actually legislating, right? And so at least have some
Right.
good policy ideas, right? Even if you're in the minority party. And so for her to admit that, and then when she came back and she admitted that she got her first job just because she was a black female, I was like, thank you so much because my very first video about her, I said that and I got so much flack. And
Yes.
it's just like, yeah, I was happy. So
Yes.
to answer your question, I was happy that she was honest because I felt vindicated because I had been telling people this.
Well, Senator John Kennedy, he said something about AOC that I believe also applies to Jasmine Crockett. He says simply let them speak. Operation Let Them Speak. They will
Yes,
bury
sir.
themselves. Go ahead,
Yes,
Mika. I
sir.
see.
I
Yeah,
love
no,
Senator
he's
Kennedy.
absolutely correct because they don't their constituents don't actually, they're used to voting for them, right? So with that being said, you said a lot of her supporters are people that you go to church with or are in, your environment. How do you get those people to vote for one, a Republican? Okay. And then
Right.
two, how do you get them to vote for you over Jasmine Crockett when those types of people that were voting for Kamala, how do you get them to vote for you when Jasmine Crockett kind of represents that whole umbrella that they feel like just fell apart? The whole black woman, you didn't vote for her because she's a black woman. You didn't vote for her because she's a woman. And now here you are as a man trying to get this woman seat.
You know, the question for me is, you know, my campaign is it's America first. You know, it's
Mm.
America first. It's TX30 rising. I'm trying to put my city and my area on the map as being an amazing place to live and raise a family. And I'm trying to go to Washington D.C. and bring back some dubs for my family and for my neighbors, some wins. And you know, when I go out and I'm selling that message, you know, you're either with that or you're not. You know, and if you're not with that because I'm not a black female, then I feel like you're not really America first. And I think that speaks bigger. I think that says something about you that I'm not going to be able to, persuade you out of that. You're just going to have to come to the realization that, you're either America first and you're either, we come together and we lock arms and we figure out how to find common ground, love one another, and then face the rest of the world as Americans, right? Then you're just not with that movement, and they got a little bit of a wake up call. I would hope that this past general election would have been a wake up call for a lot of them, but some of them are just going to double down, and political philosophy is going to teach you that some people are just going to ride that thing until the wheels fall all the way off, and so those people, I can't really waste too much time trying to persuade them. Luckily for me, I have over 100,000 actively voting Republicans in my districts. It's a midterm year. Republicans tend to turn out in higher numbers than Democrats during midterm years. The Democrats think that they have this thing in the bag, so they're not even really taking it seriously. And we have a huge population of swing voters or split ticket voters to be exact. And so these are people who might vote Republican here, might vote Democrat there, might vote Republican here. They're not straight ticket voters either way. And so some people would call them independent or whatever have you. But those are the people that I'm working on swinging over to my side, and I'm using policy. I'm using my experience. I'm using the fact that this is my actual home. And when I go home, this is where I come. I drive on the same streets. My kids play soccer and basketball against their kids. Like when I go to Washington, D.C., I plan on being at an advantage because I am part of the majority party. And when you're really, when you understand it that way, when you got bills and you got a business and a family to look after, sometimes party doesn't, that's going to come secondary. You're going to be looking at, okay, who can go get the win right now? Would you rather send somebody up there that's already in the minority party who already is going to be fighting an uphill battle, right? In general. And then she's so boisterous that she's even turned off a lot of people within her own party. She's alienated so many people that she's going to be ineffective for a very, very long time unless she can legislate the cure for cancer or something. She's going to be radioactive in Congress for a while. Why not send me up there? Why not give me a chance? Why not let me go up there and bring back some victories for the district and for the state of Texas and for America? I just think a lot of people, that just clicks for them. And all I'm asking for is one vote, one time. Give me a shot, and if I do a bad job, if I stab you in the back, or if I do whatever it is you're afraid of, vote me out of there.
See, that's my problem right there. So why do you this will bring me to my next question. Why do you think the machine usually back people who aren't for the people? Like you have a man that love family and God, that love the country, put America first. You have a man that understands business. You teach business. You help people with their businesses. You move with integrity with all you do, and you represent what they claim that they care about, which is Black families. And so why do you think the machine usually back people like Jasmine Crockett? Because she's not really worth it, if you ask me. I honestly didn't know until Mika pulled my card and she was like, she don't do nothing. She's not really doing anything.
Control, it's control. They own her vote. The people that she really works for, they're the ones that own her vote. We don't own her vote here in TX30. So that first and foremost, and then as far as the influence part, the influence component of being a congressperson, like you can legislate, right? You do like the practical, pragmatic part of the job, but then when you get off, you're still kind of powerful, just swinging your influence around based on who you hang out with and what you say. And so she uses all that to perpetuate this narrative that even when you come from affluence, even when you are an educated Black woman, even when you have reached the pinnacle of what it means to be a public servant outside of the Oval Office, you are still hood rat. You are still ratchet. You are still, somebody to be less respected, right? And it's so long as we have Jasmine willing to take that money to do that job and to play that role, you're gonna have somebody out here like me that's gonna be standing up and fighting against that. And I think that's the real battle. If you want to boil it down to me versus Jasmine Crockett, it's not Jasmine that I'm fighting against. It's the entire idea that is who we are. And I don't want my daughter looking up to a woman like that and thinking that that's what I need to be striving towards. I don't want her looking up to anybody who behaves that way and think that that's what she should be striving towards.
So you talked a lot about America first, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you are a vet.
Yeah.
So lately, everyone's been talking about Doge and, veteran affairs. Do you have any input on veteran affairs and how the vets are being treated? And do you think that Elon is there to, steal the vets' money, not pay out the vets, not do better for the vets? I trust me, I understand, but I want you to explain that to people that may not understand or may watch misinformation. Like, what are your thoughts on how the vets are being treated so far? What needs to be done to do better? And what Elon is doing in veteran affairs?
I mean, to me, it's all just vicious rumors. I mean, I talk to vets every single day. I just got back from DC, and about 85% of my class was vets. Many of them were disabled veterans, all running for office, and none of them running for office because they were being ripped off on their benefits. I just think that's another form of propaganda that the left is trying to peddle. I don't know a single veteran who's complained to me a single time that anything has been cut or made more difficult, or for him or for her. And so I just don't believe that. Now, in terms of Doge making the cuts to the VA, I absolutely believe that cuts need to be made. You got to understand that these institutions were created during times of great, let me just say, um, they weren't being very thrifty back in the days. These people were cutting huge checks, and they've been cutting huge checks for decades. We haven't had any opportunity to go in and audit. They just been telling us, just pay the taxes, give us the money. We know what we're doing. To have somebody go in there and actually look and see where the money's been going, and we're finding out that there's millions of dollars going to things like they're buying the little Keurig coffee cups. You know what? $16 million in coffee cups. Nobody's even at some of these buildings, and they're still paying for the coffee that's supposed to be in the building. This is the reason why you can't afford to take that vacation, or you can't afford to buy that extra plane ticket and bring your friend along, or your little niece or nephew along on the trip. It's not because you don't work hard enough or because you don't deserve it. It's not because some billionaire is keeping this money from you. It's because the left has been treating the government like their own little piggy bank, sending money overseas and then funneling it back to themselves. And that's how they're getting filthy, filthy rich. People on both sides have been doing it, but the left has been going crazy with it, going crazy with it. And they've been blaming it on stuff like, oh, we need more people at the VA to serve more veterans. I'm seeing more and more veterans homeless on the street, not doing better, not getting jobs or access to funding so they can start a business, not access to counseling that's actually going to be helpful and help them adjust to real life. It's just bloat. They're hiring more assistants and more admins and more executives, giving them bigger bonuses. It's crazy. They're taking bigger trips and having bigger conferences. This is where the money is going, y'all. So yeah, we want to cut that money.
All right. So
That's
when you
amazing.
say that, when you just now said that, I respect that more, because when you first pulled up to our conversation today, you was rolling your sleeves up, and I was like, bro, what you in there doing? You're actually putting taxpayers' money to work right now. Would you mind explaining to the people what's going on with the donations that come your way for your run?
Absolutely. So first of all, let me just say thank you to everybody who's donating. I can see that people are making donations right now. Thank y'all so much. So I've actually raised more money in this district than any Republican candidate has ever raised in this district ever in the 30 plus years that this district has existed. And that's thanks to people like y'all. We've raised over 80 something $1,000, which isn't a whole lot, but we've only been fundraising since I want to say like the end of February. I want to say maybe the beginning of March. I don't really believe when we first started asking people to kick in money. But it's been a tremendous success. Now, I was able to get this space. Let me see if I can show it to you guys. It's actually pretty cool. It's right here. This is Jefferson Boulevard. It's a very, very popular spot. That's the intersection of Jefferson and Polk. Here's the office. I'm in here doing my thing. I'm working on the floors right now, so I'm getting this mastic up off the floors. But instead of paying somebody $3,000 to come in here and do the floors, I just roll up my sleeves, baby. I know how to do the work. I'm not a politician. I'm a hardworking American man, okay? And so I went and rented a machine for a few
Yeah.
$100, and I'm gonna do these floors. I'm gonna do all the work, me and my volunteers, and so the money's actually gonna go to getting the message out. It's gonna go to what it's actually supposed to go to. But we did need a space to do our trainings because I have to train people. You got to think there haven't been any Republican campaigns in TX30 really ever, not at the scale at which I'm running it. And so I have to train volunteers and I have to teach people how to run a grassroots campaign. And we got over a year and a half to do it. And so that's going to be hard to outspend. I don't care how much money Jasmine has or how many Soros brothers she has given her money. It's going to be hard to beat the hometown hero, baby. It's going to be hard to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I totally agree. I totally
I
agree. But
like
I
this
think I
guy.
think you can do it. I think you can do it because, like I said to you before we got on, like you're very authentic, right? And I think that beats out, big spending because if you look at it, Donald Trump can afford a lot. All right. He can afford media coverage. He can afford, to pay people off, things like that. But he didn't have to do all of that because everything was authentic. Every campaign fund, everyone that rallied around in the MAGA movement. So do you see yourself creating a grass movement like that?
I'm riding the wave of the MAGA movement. It's just I want to be intentionally more inclusive with my movement, right? And so that's why I'm America First because I'm going out on my way to let people know that you are welcomed in this movement so long as you want to win as Americans. If you want to see the people win, if you want to start sending people into Congress that are more for the common, hardworking man, for the small business, people that aren't going to sell out, then you are America First. And this campaign is for you. And I think that's why we've been so successful. As far as President Trump and the effect that him and the MAGA movement have had on the country, I'm super thrilled and I'm proud. I'm really happy to see it. We saw some really dark days under the prior administration, and it was scary to think what would have happened if things had gone the other way and if the other side had won this past election. And so I think it's imperative that we take, every step that we possibly can to get good common sense candidates elected in this midterm, because who knows what's going to happen after President Trump is out of office. Clearly, they will lie, they will cheat, they will steal. They will send these federal judges after the president and tell the president what he can and can't do. And so long as we have this champion and this visionary in office, who I don't necessarily agree with 100% of everything he does, but I understand that he is playing a level of chess that even I don't understand with my young age and my short-lived experience compared to his. I have to defer to his wisdom just as my elder. That's just how I was raised, and so I trust his leadership. I trust his vision, and I would vote in line with President Trump. I would, for the most part, and I would definitely support the MAGA movement if that's what you're asking me.
Oh, 1000%. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mika.
So I noticed when I looked up, your background, I noticed that you talk about your life story and you talk about how you were raised and you talk about the troubles you had as a youth, right?
Yes.
So how do you take that and capitulate it to other youth in your district, meaning the troubled youth, right? Um, and how do you formulate a plan to have them be the next generation that can come behind someone like you, come behind others, and actually understand politics? Because what I'm starting to see is that a lot of the youth, whether black or white, don't understand politics, and a lot of the youth also really don't have things to do, things to get into, things to be inspired by. So with overcoming all that you've overcome, how are you going to take that to the youth in your district?
I'm gonna be present. My personality, I'm pretty outgoing. I've always been about policy. I've always been about encouraging people to get involved and to try to make their community better, their family better, their situation better. I've always seen strength in numbers, so I've always encouraged people to come together and put a little bit into something and make something like who is it? Nipsey Hussle says, "All hands in, no hands out," or every something like that, right? I've always kind of lived by that same thing. The thing about me is I've always been broke, right? I started out with nothing. And
Yeah.
so it's hard when you have the dope boys who have all the money And you got these famous rappers who could come into town and they get all the girls to want to go see them, right? And nobody wants to stand around and listen to your broke tail talking about let's put all our money in and start this business and we won't see any return for 2 or 3 years. Like they want to see it right now. And so I think the difference between then and now is, I've raised a little bit of money. I've seen a little bit of success as an attorney. I have more people that can vouch for my ideas. I've proven a lot of my ideas. And so now, for example, with this campaign, we have a little bit of lifeblood, or we got a little bit of money to make this thing fun. And so one thing these young people like is fun, and they want to feel like they're sticking it to the man. They want to feel like their voice matters. And so that's what this campaign is. In this district in particular, a lot of people perceive it as being like this blue bastion of Democrats everywhere. But, people are learning that it's not really the case. And this is going to be a fun battle. This is going to be a fun campaign, if nothing else, especially with me leading it. And so they're just naturally, genuinely attracted to the campaign just because of the culture that we've created here. It's like a fun, competitive spirit that we've created.
I'm just here smiling, man. You're a good dude, bro. You're a good
I'm
dude.
sorry.
Next time you come to DC, you need to let me know you're here so I can me and Mika could take you to go get an old fashioned or something.
I appreciate
Tequila.
that.
Yeah, I'm
I love
serious.
tequila. Now that's my drink right there. Down here in Texas, we drink tequila and vodka. Yes, sir.
See, it's a Cuban thing. See what I tell you. See, and so you talk about having fun. This may not be a fun thing, but it was fun for me to see. I saw on your social media when you went up to I can't remember the town, but you did an investigation
Oh yeah.
on Miss Jasmine Crockett, and you found out that the money that she had received, these people didn't necessarily know that this money was being taken out or funneled, or where do you think that investigation is going?
Well, I know where it's going. And so the Heritage Foundation, they have actually. Well, let me just put it this way. There's been some litigation initiated. I think there's been an investigation that's been launched by the FTC. Now, let me make a correction. Okay, so a member of my team actually provided the information, and one of the columns that we saw, it was like an aggregate amount, and we thought that this was the amount that the people had donated. And we saw the amount of times that they had donated, and that's why it made sense. We saw 53 donations in a year, 16,000 and some odd dollars. Okay, and so I take this out here. Now, after we go back and re-verify, we find out that the actual amount that was actually claimed to have been donated was only like 560 something dollars, but it was still really tiny amounts. It was still 53 donations, right, throughout the year, which is very
Mhm.
odd for somebody who lives way up there to care about this race out here. And so the FEC looked into that, and I'm assuming they looked into these other donations as well. And there is a formal investigation. So from what I understand, I really can't speak on it because I'm not involved, but from what I understand, where there's smoke, there's fire, and I wasn't wrong in my gut telling me that something's not right about these donations, especially the ones coming from that neighborhood in McKinney. Okay, because I know that neighborhood, and there's no way those people care about what's going on over here in South Dallas.
Oh, ain't nowhere in the world they care. Jasmine Crockett, who you are planning on unseating. I hope you unseat her.
Oh, we will.
Yeah, she said $5,000 ain't nothing. What's $5,000?
Hey, to me, that's a lot.
It's
That's a
definitely
Well,
lot of money.
it's
well,
definitely a lot.
the way you broke it down was masterful. I was planning on playing the video, but I don't have enough time. But you said $5,000 ain't nothing. You said you spending $400 on your wig, $200 on your nails,
All
$2,000 on
all
your
of it.
purse.
All of it. But it goes to show the type of a candidate that she has been, the type of representation that she has been for TX30, because I know nothing about Texas, okay? And I can tell you right now, when I don't know something, I go and look it up. And I can't, just like you said, I couldn't find one thing, right? One thing that she was sponsoring that seemed to benefit the people. Anytime she talks about the population, it's a lie. She talked about having 2 extra seats, and one, there were supposed to be 2 new white seats, and one was a Latino Democrat and one was a Black Republican, Mr. Wesley Hunt. So with all that being said, you have everything going against Jasmine Crockett. What can you bring to TX30 that overshadows Jasmine Crockett's record, that overshadows Jasmine Crockett's perceived popularity, that overshadows Jasmine Crockett's integrity as a politician? Like, what would you bring that
Tangibles.
everyone would want to check in on?
Tangibles. Okay, so I know what these people want. So I know what the people in South Dallas really want and what it would take for them to realize that they have a fair shot at realizing the American dream. Because really and truthfully, that's really all the federal government is supposed to do. It's not supposed to get you to the finish line. It's just supposed to clear the way so you got a fair shot to race at it just like everybody else without being set back or anything like that. And so the tangibles that I'm talking about are, for example, you got people who are sitting over in South Dallas right now who are geniuses, who are hardworking people who just need an opportunity at a good paying job, be able to buy a house in a nice neighborhood. But because they caught a felony, a nonviolent drug offense or something like that 15, 20 years ago, they're going to be prevented from being able to do that stuff for a really long time. Now, their voting rights and stuff may get restored, but there's still a lot of things, a lot of negatives that come along with having that label on you. I want to see people like that have a real second chance in life. You know, as far as the taxes, I want to see senior citizens be, tax free. You know, Jasmine voted against the bill where we wanted to take taxes off tips, taxes off overtime, taxes off Social Security. She voted against that. You know what I mean? How can you say you're for the people, you're for the hardworking people, and you vote against that? And then just earlier this week talking about the hospitality industry is taking a hit, and it's just like, yeah, from your voting, that's how they're taking a hit. And so people know first and foremost, I'm going to vote different, right? I'm going to vote different, even if my bills don't make it to the floor. When these single issue bills come down, and it affects people here in TX30 directly, like you're voting whether or not they're going to tax my overtime or not. So how are you going to vote on that, big bro? You already know how I'm going to vote on that. You know how I'm going to vote on that. And so they know this. They understand the difference now. A lot of people didn't even really realize, and this is the sad fact. A lot of people were really judging Jasmine's success on how frequently she's on TV and how much she's in the media. So many people told me, man, no, I know she's doing a good job. And it's like, well, why? What has she done? They're like, because we see her all the time. She's on everything. She was just on the Breakfast Club. She must be doing something right, or they wouldn't keep putting microphones in her face. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, at least for us, she's doing something right every time they put a microphone. But I'm like, nah, man, here's the job. Here's what the real job is. When we send them down there, we should send them down there with a packet of policies that they've done, been writing up since high school, like I have. When they give you that little assignment, if you were president or if you were Speaker of the House, what laws would you pass if you could just blah, blah, blah. So that's where it starts. And then you go to college and they help you refine it. And then you go to law school. Then you practice for a few years and you have a family. And now you got a binder full of ideas and proverbial laws that you should take to DC, try to get those things passed, cut deals. And then when you're done there after 6 or 8 years, you come back and let some fresh blood get up there. And that's what's going to make the country run like a well-oiled machine. That's how it was designed to run. Jasmine Crockett is thinking that she's just going to be this career politician. I just need to get elected one time. And once I'm in there like swimwear. They'll never get rid of me. I can completely show my butt and no one would dare challenge me, especially some young Republican whippersnapper who thinks he can dethrone me. And so this is where we find ourselves.
1000%. My gracious. Okay, so we've had you for 44 minutes, a little longer than that because you came 10 minutes before this. Do you have to go, or can we ask you one more question?
More questions, man. You're saving me from having to wrestle with this giant flooring machine. This thing is heavy, man. That's why my shirt's all wrinkled up, because you know what I mean?
Hey, you look the way that our politicians should look, man. Getting out there, getting your hands dirty, and actually giving a care about the country, man. I love the fact that I talked to you for 55 minutes today, and you said nothing about trying to put one race over the other. You simply said American first, America first. Could you please explain to people why you do that?
You know what, man? I was raised up. My mom dated a guy. He was like a Black Panther type guy. He was definitely super extremist pro black. I would say almost a racist. Like a black guy. He hated white people. Um, my mom was one who, she came up during the country and she saw, her mother and my grandmother and them. They grew up during a time where they experienced racism firsthand, and so they kind of inherited a lot of that ill will towards white people, I guess, in general. Well, the thing about me is, I grew up in a neighborhood where like my next door neighbors were white people, and then on the other side they were like hardcore Spanish speaking Hispanic people, and like that was my community. We were all poor and in that thing together. And as I came up, if I'm being honest with you, when I told all my friends and family that I wanted to be an attorney, it wasn't white people that were discouraging me from that idea. It was my own people that were discouraging
Wow.
me from that idea. When I started my firm, it wasn't black people that support. When I went back to Sherman, my hometown, to open my firm and to help my community, it wasn't my community that embraced me. It was white people. It was Hispanic people that embraced my firm. It was them that made it possible for me to feed my family. And so even though I still love my people and I always will, it's hard for me to harbor like this chip on my shoulder towards people who are, through their actions and through their love, are disproving all the things that I was taught about them. And then when you couple in the fact that I'm a student of history and American history, when you study the Reconstruction era and when you study American history through the lens of like a white abolitionist, right? Someone whose family, since they first got here and saw slavery, hated it. They just might not have had the money or the power or the influence or the numbers to do anything about it, but they were always here. And this is what I think people need to learn. It's not that I'm caping for massa or nothing. It's just it took me learning about the true history of how we came to be a free people here to realize that we have never really been alone. It's just been more of a battle of, how long it took us to finally come together, to lock arms at the right time, at the right place, and have that political power through the formation of the Republican Party to get us free through the 14th, 15th Amendments, 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments. You know what I mean? And then Reconstruction, that's what got us elected. Our first black elected officials were Republicans, right? And what did they want? They wanted to be freed, they wanted some seed, and they wanted the government to leave them the hell alone. And that's really all Republicans want today. Okay. It's just opportunity to go out here and make our own. And so it's not me it's not me bowing down or wanting to lock arms with. I don't even understand that way of thinking. This is really me paying homage to my ancestors. You know what I mean? This is how we came to be a free people. And there's always been white people in this country who hated slavery, who hated that racism stuff, and they fought and they died in a war to help us. Yes, there's always been racist people. There's always been racist people on both sides, but I'm to a point where, and I think when we have President Trump in office and like with him taking on the establishment, the white establishment, okay, we don't have that kind of power to stop a man like that from making it top. It was them trying to stop that man. And it was him fighting against them on not only his behalf, but on our behalf too. There's been many a door open for people. I don't think I could viably be running for office right now if it hadn't been for Trump taking on the establishment and winning like he did. You know what I mean? And for all the lies that the Democrats have been pumping out to be exposed, that's what makes it possible for a common man to run. You see what I mean? And so I can't be out here being on some racist stuff. As far as, trying to litigate, old cases or debts that may or may not be owed from a long time ago, I feel like, man, that's such a complex argument. And to be honest, it's not even a real possibility of being any type of policy. I think people use things like that to try and divide or derail young campaigns. But I'm not going to let that happen. You know what I mean? And so my campaign absolutely is America first. And it's not, your grievance doesn't matter or what you think you deserve from America isn't legitimate. I think it's more so I'm just asking people to please within yourself, just decide that you want to let it go, that you want to put it aside, and that you want to go across the aisle and you want to reach out and you want to shake a hand and you want to figure out what can we do, where can we start so that we can start moving forward, right? I want flying cars. I want a peaceful country. I want to be the Jetsons, baby. But you guys want to argue over all this other stuff, and it's just like, no, let's come together and let's make America great, okay?
Let's go. I love that
I
answer.
love that. I love that. That is absolutely awesome. I really I don't really know what else to say, because you summed up everything else that we would have talked about to round it off, because that has been one of the things that I've been seeing around having you as a candidate. What's really different? Why is he going to do this? Is he going to do that? Is he going to only speak to this group? And I think as a person of color, and especially a Black man, right, I think that weighs heavy. So I'll ask you this last question. With you being a Black man running for this district and having such a diverse demographic, because I looked it up, and you have 40% Black, 30% Hispanic, the rest white and other, right? With those demographics, do you think that all groups are willing to rally around someone who traditionally is not seen in such a leadership role, right? Especially in something that's quote unquote the racist party, or the racist demographic. Do you think you're able to have that coalition that is your district, essentially? Do you think you're able to communicate your message to them and show the rest of the world and other districts and other states and pretty much the United States that these things can be done as a man of color, especially a Black man?
Absolutely, and I think that's where we are as a country. I think that's what we need right about now. I think there are a lot of open wounds. I think a campaign like mine can heal a lot of those wounds, or at least lead to the conversations, right, and allow people to finally, like, you know, um, just calm down for a second. Me myself, I was outraged for years too. A lot of people are still very, very wound up and very outraged, and I just got tired. I got tired of being so outraged. It's to the point where, man, like, there's got to be an end to this war, right? I don't want to just fight just to be fighting. And so I think with a campaign like mine, it offers people an opportunity to do that. No matter what side you're on, when we're screaming America first, when we're screaming common sense, and when everything we're doing is really to protect our kids who they don't have a voice, right? Um, I think it's hard to go against that. And if you're just going against that, I think you're going to end up, finding yourself alienated. You're going to find yourself on an island. And then hopefully at that point you realize, okay, maybe I'm being unreasonable. But most people are reasonable. Okay. And what we're telling people and what we're trying to sell to people is very reasonable. Okay. It's, hey, let's all win together. We don't have to sacrifice anybody for us to win. We just need to figure out how we can do it together. Okay. And if we focus on the hardworking, law-abiding people that make this country great, right? And we stop trying to tax everybody into oblivion. If we stop putting all our emphasis on making sure that our political party stays in control, then I think we're going to be all right. And that's a pretty simple, common sense message.
So you don't have to walk into your boss's office and say, hire me because I'm Black.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. I had to earn every job I ever got. Hell, I had to work for free for a couple of days just to show I could do the job, and then I got the job type deal.
That's what I'm talking about. I saw that when you was a young man. You was always, this brother came out the gate selling vacuum cleaners door to door. Then you working at a restaurant late night and still finishing up your school. And then you join the military, and then you go to school. And bruh, you don't stop. And now you're building up the floors of cleaning up the floors of your office by yourself, bruh.
Wait
No,
till
but
we
this
get it
shows that
done.
he's
You guys are gonna
efficient.
be. I'm sorry.
It shows that you're efficient, because
Yeah.
just like with Doge, you're like, I could spend $3,000 to get somebody to come do these floors, but I know how to do the floors. Let me put this money to something else, actually, with the campaign and for the people.
So that $3,000, I could talk to about 9,000 people. I could send out about 9,000 mailers with that. That's about 4 or 5 of my voting precincts right there. So I'd rather get in here and get a little dirt on my skirt, as we say down here, save that money. You know what I mean? We're trying to win. I'm running to win, guys. I'm not running to do anything except win this thing. I want to bring this thing home to DC. And I'm telling you, when we win, it's going to feel like the Mavs won again. And they're going to be trying to figure out how the heck this young kid pulled this thing off, right, against these Democrats, because they spent a lot of money and he still beat them. So, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, they spent a lot of money. They try to take him down every single way, shape, and form. They try to take this brother down. Okay,
There's
so
nothing they can say.
absolutely nothing they can say, nothing they can do either, clearly. So I'm going to respect your time. Why? Because I don't even know your wife and I'm afraid of her, but I'm gonna let you.
Yes, sir. No,
But I
thanks.
do.
Shout out to my wife, man. It would without her support, without her, when I rolled over and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna do this. Can I do this?" And she's like, "Yeah, I got your back." Yeah, I wouldn't be here. So thank you to my wife, Elise Daniels, the most beautiful woman I know. Let's go.
Let's go. I love it, man. Okay, so that being said, I'm gonna let you go, but do you have any final words just to let people know how to support you, where to go, and also your link is in the descriptions in the very first link as well, just to let you know. So you have the floor.
If you're in Dallas, tap in with me. You gotta tap in with me. I want you to come by, check out the space, hear what I have to say. Tell me what you think and how I can help you. For everybody else, or for the Dallas people included, you can find me at danielsforus.com. I'm on all the social media platforms at Sholdon Daniels. You can just Google me, Sholdon. I'll pop up. But yeah, if you're in Dallas, come tap in with me. As soon as I get this place done, I'm telling you, it's gonna be nonstop. It's gonna be like Death Row Records, except we're out here actually changing the community for the better. Okay, it's gonna be everything. Let's go.
Sheldon, are you a Dallas fan?
I'm a
Are you a
Mavericks
Cowboys
fan.
fan?
I'm a
Are you a
Mavericks
Cowboys
fan.
fan? Oh, okay, okay. Good. I'm from DC. I had to ask. You know, that's my only hang up here.
You know what?
Dallas.
If I'm being honest with you, I don't like how they did. I don't like how everything went down a few years ago, and ever since then, I kind of been turned off from the NFL. If I'm being 100 with you, so I like college
I,
football,
I got
um,
you.
but you know what I mean. So yeah,
He
I
like college
got you.
football. He don't like that Luka went to the Lakers. He don't like that either. Um,
my uncle was a huge Lakers fan, but I got to ride with the Mavs, and I hate that they stole our boy like that, LeBron. Why you got to come mess up the league like that, man? Why you got to do that?
You know he a
It's
bully,
all
man. He
good.
take what he want. Hey guys, thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. This is the Sheldon Daniels. We're gonna make sure that
Yes.
he unseat Jasmine Crockett. Shout out to Mika
Sure.
with the amazing questions. Thank you so much, Mika. Those are some great questions that you
Yeah,
asked.
those are some of the best questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr.
All
Daniels.
right, y'all.
And
Bye bye.
please send our love to your wife
Bye.
and your family, okay?
Okay, I will.
Uh,
Thank y'all for having me.
you have an
Thank you
amazing
for
day.
coming.